So would you mind going through a couple of perhaps pillars or a couple of things that you feel are the fundamentals in terms of happiness from what you've learned in university?
Yeah, well, I suppose it's a big question. You can come at it from a couple of different angles. I suppose in terms of, you can think of happiness, first off, it's a very different thing than avoiding sadness or avoiding negative emotion. Often we think of positive emotion and negative emotion as being on a spectrum. It's not actually true. Very different parts of your brain process both. So I suppose in terms of happiness, lots of different pillars to it, but the main source of happiness we have in our lives, the main source of positive emotion is when we move towards a goal that we think is important. We make progress. Now that progress can be in your relationships, it can be in your career, it can be in any domain you want. I mean, a lot of what we do here is around your health and your health behaviors. But making progress towards a goal that you think is important is really the main source of happiness that you can get. Very much linked to things like our relationships. You know, happiness to an extent is other people. It's also very much linked to this idea of flow, and I suppose having something that you think is important, but that you can get sucked into and that it can take up your time. So, I mean, I see with what Alex does, and I suppose this whole organization and this whole business, I mean, I guarantee you have days, Alex, where you're so absorbed in it that, you know, suddenly you look up and there's 4 or 5 hours have passed and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that time went. You know?
Have you been hiding in my office, have you? Absolutely.
And so there's lots of different pillars, but I would say, like, you know, the main takeaway from me from studying all this for years is that the main source of happiness, the main source of positive emotion we have is when we move towards a goal that we think is important. And there's other sources of things like gratitude, which I know you guys do an awful lot around. Optimism, very, very important, you know. And optimism seems to be very much linked to our motivation. So I suppose if we don't think that what we're doing is going to have the results that we're aiming for, then why would we bother trying, you know? So that, you know, I suppose that's positive psychology in a nutshell, those few sentences.
Relationships, progress towards something that you're obviously care about, health, 100%. I think that if you have having progress, health, I also find having a purpose as well. I don't know about you, it makes me happy anyway.
Well, that's the, you know, so I suppose if we can make progress towards anything, it feels good. This is why video games work. So you have Mario is running through an imaginary world, collecting imaginary prizes, making imaginary progress. And that's, if any of you have ever played video games, still quite satisfying.
Yeah.
But if you magnify that when it's something important to you, it's something you value. So, I mean, I'm sure you guys do a lot of work on your why, you know, and I suppose that is the importance of that. And I suppose the trick is to try and kind of take that abstract conception of a why and actually bring it into your day-to-day and into your momentary decisions, you know. Easier said than done sometimes, but you know, that's the secret to it as far as I can see.